Hello, 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 welcome back. Today it's Game Master Preparation. It's about having tools, talking about locations today. And I've got a fairly swift presentation for today. So I think this is mostly what I've said before in the past, but I have only one extra thing I want to add specifically. But if you've never been here before, the good news is I really want to know what tools people need to have in their games. I'm going to put up a poll. Feel free to take part in that poll. But I'm also going to encourage you to go and join my Discord and come and chat to me in person, either video or voice, and talk about the sort of tools that you need to have when it comes to locations. I would really be interested, so I'm going to add that in today. So grab some food, some drink, make sure you're comfortable, and I'm going to get started in a second. Let's crack into this. Hi, welcome to How to RPG. My name is Fred Weller, and today I want to talk about how to go about crafting, making, creating ancient adventure locations, places that are back in the history, that don't have advanced technology, or maybe they do, but they just don't look like it. And maybe they're in ruins, maybe they've broken down over time, but they don't necessarily have to be broken down in time. So there are a few things that I generally look at when it comes to creating locations, usually starting with inspiration. And it's the usual things, using real-world architecture and landmarks. Like, it's one of the best ways to actually come up with ideas, particularly when you're thinking in terms of ancient locations for your adventures. You can repurpose a lot of that. It's very easy. Find an image of a historic building or structure or area, and you can base your location on that, something that's real. Okay? Books, movies offer many sort of landscapes and places that are quite exotic that you can utilize as well. Video games often, particularly if they're an RPG, a role-playing game experience, present really dynamic environments that you can explore, so you can sort of duplicate some of that stuff. Those ideas come from somewhere else, but that doesn't matter. Pictures, paintings, landscapes done either in oil or acrylic or watercolor can be really useful if you're just going through a museum or an art gallery of some kind. Pre-made role-playing game published adventures often have many locations, including maps with them, that you can use for your games. You can either just steal or borrow or modify them or use them as inspiration in some way. Google search is a pretty good location for finding images of a specific location. Pinterest, ArtStation, DeviantArt. You don't just get images nowadays. There's so many places where you can get free maps as well. It might not go with the artwork, but that's really not important. And then, of course, we can't overlook ChatGPT. AI that scrapes the internet can give you a lot of ideas. I'm not going to say that it's going to be great stuff, but it may be a starting point if you're stuck. One of the hardest things to do when you're creating your own thing is starting with a blank page or no idea. And you say, okay, I've got to do something, I don't know what, and you've got to start at that point. And that inspiration aspect, sometimes ChatGPT can point you in a direction, even though everything else that it's making is kind of garbage. So yes, it might help say, well, I know that's rubbish and I can fix that. So that's another way of looking at it. But yes, there's a lot to be said about ChatGPT. Okay, how to create locations. Now, how do you do this? I'm going to point you back to real-world architecture, plans, layouts, deck plans for ships, floor plans for a building or ruins. These are all really useful. Diagrams have often been drawn of ancient locations. You can actually utilize them in your games. Check out Sly Flourish, his fantastic locations and his preparation method. When it comes to making fantastic ancient locations or fantasy locations, there's a couple of things, particularly when it comes to the ancient idea. And he says, whatever you do, make it old, make it large, make it unique, give it unique features, give it a function. Whether it was a function that it used to perform in the past and doesn't now, it doesn't matter. Give it a function and give it an interesting name. and you've pretty much nailed down everything you need to know about creating an ancient location. Focus on making the location a reusable location can be really useful. I highly encourage the work that you put in. Sometimes making stuff that you can reuse in the future, it just saves a lot of repetitive preparation when you don't need to do that sort of thing. Okay, a lot of locations tend to repeat anyways. Things like villages, you make an ancient village, you can make an ancient town, cities, castles. Ruined castles and strongholds are a common thing. Tombs, obviously, we want our ancient tomb. Pyramids, ancient tombs, ancient pyramids. Mazes, like whether it's a hedge maze or a stone maze or like catacombs, cave locations that are more maze-like. Temples, a shrine, a mine. Obviously, an old mine is really interesting as an exploration location, and making it really ancient makes the danger go up. Cave locations again. Monster lairs, like there's a lot of different types of monster lairs, but they often have the same sort of form, the same sort of things that are going to be placed in that location. The Death Trap Dungeon. Now, Death Trap dungeons can change constantly, but maybe the basic gist, like the 5 dungeon layout is often a good example of this. The Death Trap dungeon can be built around that. Treasure vaults and sailing ships are almost always the same. Now, whether it's a ship that is new or whether it's an ancient ship that's in ruins or a wreck of some kind, really all you're doing is putting holes in it. That's really all you're doing, and aging things up. Ensure the location is interactive for your player characters, because it's the tool for one of the pillars of play. And in D&D 5e, they talk about 3 pillars of play, and exploration and exploring a location is one of those pillars. I believe that Glenn, Mr. Welsh, is correct that there are probably 5 pillars of play, which is combat, the social interaction, social dialogue, exploration, character development, and world building. But at least we're doing something with this, right? Draw a picture with digital tools, or you can use just paper and pencil or pens, and change what you need so you can use something that already exists and you can adjust it for your adventure. Label that map. It can be as simple as just numbering it. If you want to put labels that actually state this is the entrance, or this is the vault, and you want to write it in, that's fine. But sometimes labeling is just down to numbers, and then you just need a ledger in your way. Artificial intelligence like ChatGPT and Stable Diffusion can be pretty good at coming up with locations. They won't be perfect, but it's a starting point, right? And then there's a lot of resources out there that allows you to create locations that you can use. And I don't want to go over all of them because I've kind of done that before, and I want to move on to the next step. And that is location details and information. So who created the location? There's some questions to be asked. Who created that location? And then what is the purpose of that location? What is the history of the location, if it does have any history? And if it's an ancient location, it should have history, right? There should be something that took place in the past. You're not necessarily going to have to make a lot of highly detailed notes on this, because often history doesn't get passed on from the game master or dungeon master to players, unless you've built it in so they can find that information out. Who inhabits the location currently? What is the general population of the location? What sort of monsters are there? What sort of beasts or creatures are there? Is it full of undead? So who inhabits it? Now we can talk about who inhabited this location in the past, but who inhabits it right now is far more important. And then it's about positioning hazards, natural hazards and obstacles in the location, like traps and puzzles, and then your normal stuff. Now, the traps and puzzles are usually constructed, but natural hazards are an important aspect as well. And then you need to dress up your location. So environmental dressing, things like objects that can be interacted with, furniture that can be used, adding in features to the location with aspects that you can interact with and manipulate. And often this comes down to furniture, features, some sort of thing, environmental thing that you can put in place weather it can be a part of this as well, but we're also thinking in terms of the things they can pick up and put in their pack when they're going through this location that they can find. That's a really important aspect. Players love to find stuff that they can take. Whether it's legally or illegally, they don't care. They want to find stuff that they can take. And if you're dealing with an ancient location, they expect to be able to take everything. So give them some stuff to take. They get to interact with it. They might use it in some way that you weren't expecting. They can change the story and the location's effect quite a lot with just what they pick up. So this is the advice that I would give you when it comes to creating locations. There's a lot of tools that you can have to help make that take place. Like a list of different types of wilderness locations, which is actually available on my Patreon, by the way. You could have landmarks. Now, these might be constructed locations. These things might be manufactured. They're constructed or assembled by humans or dwarves or elves or whatever the heck it is. But you can also have the decor. So we were talking about furniture. Like an altar might be a kind of like a piece of furniture, but so is a chair. So is a fireplace in some ways. It's part of the structure. But then the things that you can pick up as you're going. It might be as simple as an old rusty sword, or it might be a candle, or a candlestick, or a torch. These are all things, if you have a table that is made up of this, you can actually use that to help populate your location. This makes it a lot easier to do that, rather than starting with just a blank idea and trying to do your best to fill it up. Okay, so I have some miscellaneous recommendations for you. You don't have to be good at drawing a location map because you're not selling it, and also because there are so many maps out there that have been drawn by people. There's bound to be one that's suitable for what you're after. Okay, it's not necessary to use or learn map drawing software or programs because there are alternative methods. You can do it by hand, and if you're really stuck, you can get ChatGPT to draw it for you. You just need to stipulate with prompts kind of what you're after, and it won't be exact, but if you don't want to draw it yourself, you can do it that way. And then there are so many different maps out there for fantasy locations that you can steal or borrow that are free. Some you'll have to pay for, but I tend to sort of point people in the direction of free stuff. And I know a lot of people don't like Dyson logo maps, black and white, but they're easy to trace, they're easy to follow, they're not confusing. They don't work well on a virtual tabletop. That's fine, because not everybody runs their game on a virtual tabletop. And if you do, you're probably already using software that you prefer, and you're going to a place that has a lot of sources for that. A lot of virtual tabletops have sources of maps that you can just use that are sort of generic. Anyway, so that's what I would say, is just don't get too carried away about worrying about the mapping side of things, which I know is a tendency to happen when you're making something. And it's not necessary to worry too much about that sort of stuff. In fact, sometimes you can run an entire adventure on a location and the players never see a map, and you never drew a map. You've never drawn a thing, and it'll still work out fine. So hopefully this was helpful and useful to you, and if it was, fantastic. I want to thank my patrons who support me on Patreon. I want to thank you for watching, listening, and till next time, keep rolling those 20s. Okay, I'm back. Now, normally I would go through the process of building tools in a live stream. And the problem is, it is so hot here right now, I'm ready to melt. So I'm going to take a quick break, like just a couple of minutes, and then I'm going to my Discord. And that is where I will be. So if you want to come and chat with me, and I don't know that I gave the link to it, but I'll do it now. I think I just gave you the Discord, but not my actual invite link. There we go. That's silly. How do you find me if I don't actually give you the proper link? So I apologize for that. This should be a link for my Discord. It is not a pay Discord. It is not something that if you want to join up and talk to me on it, you need to be a patron. It is not that way. I don't work that way. It is really a place where a lot of people throw a lot of ideas at me. Okay? So come and join me. Hopefully I have given you the right link. I think I've given it to you twice now. I'm going to enter this poll, and then I'm going over there. Now I'm going to be doing a couple of things, and one of them will be building out landmarks. 100 different landmarks. We started this table a while ago, but I need to be in a more comfortable environment right now, and it's definitely not comfortable right now. So I'm going to go and do that. So, hello Shy X, how are you doing? Make it alive with beasts. Yeah, put creatures in there. Put something in there. Populate your location. Running water or sources of water. Yep. Sources of water certainly can be an aspect of your location. Hello Jasper. Now Jasper is a patron. Thanks for being here. I be here, but in and out dinner time. No problems, Jasper. It's fine. Okay. And then Wizards and Warp Drives. Hello, Nacho. How are you? Also a patron. Nice to have you. So believe it or not, that is it. I am finished for today. I am going over to Patreon. Not to Patreon, over to Discord, and that is where I will be working for the next sort of just an hour and a half before I go to work. Just because it's so hot. So that's where I'm going to go. So if you want to come and join me, you can. And if you don't, that's fine too. I don't mind. It's all good. But I need to get out of here. And yeah, that's it. So huge thank you to everybody who was watching and listening. Thank you for taking part in the poll if you did. Interesting. Do you need more tools for creating locations for your tabletop role-playing games? Yes, 66%. And no, 16%. Undecided 16%. Very, very good. Okay. All right. So I'm working on that sort of aspect of it. I'm going to try and turn on a fan, I think, today to keep myself cool as well. So, yeah. Thank you to everybody who commented in the chat. Shy X, Jasper, Wizards and Warp Drives. Thank you so much. And, yeah, I'm going to get out of here. So wherever you are in the world, whether it be the morning, the afternoon, or the night, please look after yourself, your family, and your friends. Be nice to your neighbours. And hey, till next time, keep rolling those 20s.